And so welcome everybody. Happy Monday. We have made it halfway through the month of May, if you can believe it. We were just talking about that all of a sudden now things have been moving, but that's again because we're all moving around, right? The state's opening up, so we've got some activity going on. And so welcome. As a couple of housekeeping, just remember if you have any questions, you have any comments, drop them in the chat. You're also welcome to send us questions in the Q&A. Just to let you guys know, our fearless leader is out there doing work on our behalf with some other aspects of the organization. So we do have some announcements that we will be sharing on her behalf. And but again, welcome. So again, make sure that if you need anything, drop it in the chat, have any comments. We do save these. We are posting them in the group. We're sending them out. So we're making sure everybody gets a chance to have these. And again, these calls are to give you an update from around the state on what is going on. So we have Joanna from the Tampa Bay area. We have Diane from Central Florida, and we will also hopefully be joined by Emily. I think she's having a little connectivity issues. I know, right? We're all used to that. Zoom is being overwhelmed these days. So sometimes it is a friend and sometimes it is gives us a little battle to get on. So again, guys, I just want to I'll give a couple of announcements from a more of a national standpoint as we get ready. One of the things that's really exciting that Nancy sent to us today, and oh my gosh, hold on guys,
why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
I'm sorry?
Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
I introduced everybody else, but not myself, right? That is so common. So I'm Steph McPhee, and for those of you who haven't met me, I am the North Florida coordinator. So I'm up here in the St. Augustine, Jacksonville area, but I also manage all the communications and the community work. So you guys, I had to laugh. Actually, I was doing a site visit last week, and I was like, oh, wait, that's right. I know your name. I was like, yeah, I'm always the one in the community chatting with everybody. So again, welcome. We're so excited to have you. And so what we were going to do is I was going to start and just give a really quick update since Nancy is on some national calls right now and not able to join us. So she had a really exciting announcement that WBEC is going to be doing a virtual pitch competition. So I think a lot of you realize over the past month, what's been so exciting is that so many of the things that we normally would have been doing in person have been able to switch over and utilize technology and come into a virtual. And so this is another aspect that's going to be happening. So there's a lot more information. We don't have all the information on this, but please stay tuned to our emails. We also do make sure that you get the latest and greatest, and to your email if you are a WBE from WBEC. So that they will be giving you more information on a virtual pitch that will help you perfect your pitch. There's going to be some prize money and national recognition and some marketing opportunities. So something so very exciting. And again, make sure that you are signed up either for our email. If you're not getting it, let us know, or or the WBEC. And then also we post all of this in our communities. So we make sure that we get everything out in about 3 or 4 ways. So if you're like me and maybe you missed the email, but you're better on the social media, then one way or another, we're going to make sure you get the information. The other thing, if you didn't know, and I think everybody's pretty aware, but if you were in the process of applying for certification or getting recertified, we are still very busy doing that. We do everything through virtual as well. So all you need to do is don't wait. If this is a really great time to get all that paperwork in and to work with us, so we are still able to process your certification or your recertification. And if you have any questions, reach out to the team. And the final announcement I want to make sure, if you missed our session last week or haven't seen it, is we also are doing something very exciting for our WBEs, our certified WBEC members, where you have an opportunity to submit a 90-second video to us, and we are going to edit those and share them on our YouTube channel. So another great way we are trying to help market your business and get the word out to people about what you are doing. And there are links in the email as well as on the website for that. We also are going to end our call today with a really great update from Diane on survey tips and you know, some things that you probably have taken some surveys. I know there's been quite a few going out right now to really help people get a pulse. So we will wrap our day up with that. So with that being said, actually, Diane, why don't we start with you and then we'll come back at the end and wrap up with our discussion on surveys. So why don't we hand it over to you, Diane, to give us a Central Florida update.
Okay, the Central Florida update. So there is so much happening. The doors are starting to open, as Stephanie said. You know, you're starting to see tables on sidewalks. People are going out for dinner, lunch, that kind of thing. I actually got to go to the hairdresser this weekend. Yay! So thank you. So the interesting thing is that you are starting to see people kind of venture out there a little bit. There are a lot of questions going around, and now we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty. Things like, if I did get the PPP money, does that affect my taxes? What do I have to do to turn that into a grant instead of a loan? So all these things. So I am seeing some workshops taking place on that online. We are not conducting one at the moment. We are directing people toward the small business development centers, the National Entrepreneur Center, some other places that are putting these seminars on. There are also things going on with attorneys, you know, doing their own webinars so that we can see what comes next. And we're all just trying to figure this out. It's all brand new, right? I've been updating you on the Orlando Economic Partnership and some of the studies they've been doing. They had the third study of business in the area, and it came back that, yes, people, as of 2 weeks ago, were still feeling more and more pressure, mostly because of payroll. So how to meet payroll. So there are still a lot of businesses that are not up to, and will not be for a while, be up to full speed with the payroll. And that is a concern. And so that's affecting cash flow. So that's what the survey results are showing, not a surprise, but they're trying to also gauge how Central Florida is going to come out of this, which I think is a good indicator of how the rest of Florida will come out of it. So stay tuned for that. They're producing some reports on that. For other activities that are taking place here in Central Florida, there are chambers of commerce that are trying to make sure that people are staying in touch with each other. So they're doing social kinds of things, but also featuring different businesses as they go along. So if your Chamber of Commerce isn't doing that yet, look into it. Or if you haven't heard, look into it, because that's a good way to get yourself introduced to the community where you are and start your commerce going again. That's my wrap up for Central Florida. Back to you, Stephanie.
Awesome. Sorry about that. I was checking in on Emily, so I will hand it over to you, Joanna, to let us know how things are going. But thank you so much. And I know you also mentioned last week, and I think this is going around, about masks, right? There's distributing masks to small businesses there, and I think in a few other places for small businesses, right, Diane?
Orange County is doing that, yes, for businesses that are in the county. Yes, so I'm seeing that's happening in other parts of the state too. Masks and hand sanitizers, and they're actually being picked up. I think they said something like 750,000 of them or something have been distributed because you know, businesses want to get back to opening.
Right.
So what I am seeing is that in the offices, that there are still, anyone who can work at home is being asked to work at home, but they're sending a lot of people back to the office. But restaurant workers are getting back, and today the gym's open, so that's a good sign. I don't want my trainer to see me looking like this, but it's going to have to happen eventually. 15 extra pounds or whatever everybody's talking about.
The COVID 15, right? Not like the freshman 15 we all got in college.
Only slightly exaggerating, you guys. Anyway.
But no, I did want to mention that because I know they announced that up here in North Florida too. So make sure that the mass distribution is really great, because we know finances are really tight for a lot of people, and also those are hard to get a hand on, but yet we need to be need to have them in order to get back to business. So make sure you're checking out in your local county about getting those masks and hand sanitizers, because those are free of charge if you're a small business. And so I know up here it's being coordinated by the chambers. So definitely go in and look and make sure they're taking advantage of that opportunity. So thanks so much, Diane. And then Joanna, why don't we hand it over to you?
Okay, hi everybody. So over here in Tampa, we're seeing the same thing. The restaurants are starting to open. You see the streets being utilized as restaurants. They're closing down Ybor streets and the Ybor main streets and trying to get more people to sit outdoors. I have noticed that some businesses are holding off on opening and making sure they have the proper PPE equipment. For example, JCC, the gym that I go to, is not opening today. So that was a shock to me, but I understand that they are trying to make sure that everything is put in place before bringing in all these people to the gym. So with that, I will talk about the SBDC first. I received an email from them, from the SBDC of USF, and they are meeting with business owners one-on-one, on a one-on-one basis to review your current situation and help develop plans as we navigate through this new normal. We know that things are not going to be going back to normal anytime soon. So they are there, to meet with you on a one-on-one basis. And they are still doing that virtually. And also they have this program, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Turbo Change. So it's Turbo Change Any Team. It's a comprehensive tool that assists with organization and development services. So this helps make, good teams and helps underperforming teams get back on track. So normally there is a fee for this, and they are doing this for free right now because they have received funding for this. So, as teams have been broken down because of COVID and are starting to build back up, this is a service that you can utilize for free and take advantage of. And then the last thing from SBDC is that they are offering on-demand videos that actually are geared towards COVID-19 training. So, I'm going to share my screen so that you can kind of see.
Emily.
Oh no, it's okay. So they have videos. Let me see if I can, like small business planning for reopening and future success. I'm leading your remote team during COVID-19 is another video. Corona business information and resources. So there's like 3 videos up now, or 4 up. And so I know we've had a lot of women business owners asking for resources on this material, so you can check out the online videos on demand, and I will put the link in the chat box for you. And as normal, the ECC is the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center, and it's located in Ybor City. They are a hub for business owners that need assistance, and they also provide training, and that's where I have office hours, or I used to have office hours, and they are there for you, but now virtually. And so you can go ahead and sign up on their newsletter to also receive up-to-date information with them. And then the Working Women of Tampa Bay, we are planning to do a certification workshop with them in about 2 weeks, on May 29th, I believe, but I will update that information. I'll send that to you. But they offer virtual Zoom courses, and feel free to check out what events they have going on. And that's about it here in Tampa.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for all those great resources. It's amazing. There's so much. And that's one of the reasons we love doing these calls, is because it's an opportunity to hear about things you may not know about like that. So thank you so much, Joanna. Great update. And yay, Emily, I know I was just trying to send her an email, but it looks like she got on. So Welcome. We're so excited to see you, our friend. And how about an update from South Florida?
Well, hi, everybody. Thank God, finally, my Zoom magically kicked in. So happy to be amongst you, but I was able to listen in attendee mode on the phone, so, but not jump in. But anyway, so today I'd like to share with you group some different resources that are not just particular to this area. However, I did the Treasure Coast area of Florida, but I did look at different resources in the area and they're kind of cross-referencing things. So it's just kind of a general repository. So one of them, it's actually 3 websites I'd like to share. And the first one is with the SBDC, as Joanna mentioned, and I also work with the SBDC. So we've been having all kinds of discussions on ways to facilitate small businesses. So they have a wonderful resource guide. It's actually called the COVID-19 Business Disaster Recovery and Resiliency Assistance Guide, and it can be found on their website. And it's a wonderful compilation of videos and training and consulting and on-demand training videos and all kinds of resources, and of course the opportunity to get personalized consulting. So I definitely encourage you to visit that site. So that's floridasbdc.org /disaster. I'm going to copy that and paste it in to the chat as well. Okay, let me be careful here that I don't cut myself off of Zoom, but so I'm just trying to see, I'm trying to get back. Okay, whatever, I'll get it over there, all right? So if I don't do it in real time, it will be coming shortly. So that's one. The other site I want to share is the floridadisaster.org, floridadisaster.org. That is an excellent site for anything disaster related in the state of Florida. And it also does it by region of the state as well as the SBDC site, by the way. So regardless of whatever region you are throughout the state, you can find specific resources to you. And I know in my region, we're having all kinds of podcast presentations. Our local SBDC is interviewing different business leaders and so forth. And it's an opportunity, as a matter of fact, for our local companies who want to be featured, they're featuring them. So it's a great kind of PR opportunity as well. But anyway, floridadisaster.org is good for any disaster, whether it's COVID or hurricane. As you know, hurricane season is quickly approaching. So it's a place to go get tips and insights on how to plan and prepare. As a matter of fact, they have a tab that says plan and prepare. And they have business and industry, so they really speak directly to the needs of businesses. So that's also a good resource. And one more is the uschamber.com. They have a really great website as well. It's a national resources by state. So you can just click on the state of Florida and see it. Kind of losing that link right now, but as I said, I'll make sure to put them all in. But that has really just scroll and scroll and scroll and just see whatever resonates with you and your business, whatever support you're looking for. It's really a wonderful place to look. So those are 3 places. And one more little bit of information I would like to share with you. I was reading this morning in Vogue magazine. They have a business section. And because many fashion companies are pivoting from making high fashion to making PPE equipment, including hand sanitizer like Louis Vuitton, instead of making perfume, they've been making hand sanitizer and so forth. They've been speaking with they've been doing a lot of articles on that whole sector. So if you're into fashion or that world, Vogue business is of interest. So there was an article interviewing a startup fashion company. And they tend to focus on men's fashion, and they're based in London. And they shared one sentence that I want to share with you guys. In order to pivot successfully going forward, because there's like no going back. Once customers get used to being treated a certain way or having access to a brand in a certain manner, they don't want to revert. So if they're used to you online and they want more of you online, you have to give them more of that. So this is what they say. The specialization is the future of the luxury industry post-pandemic. It's about having a very clear, concise opinion and point of difference in what we're offering, not just in product, but in terms of communication, ethics, ethos, and philosophy. So what resonated with me was very clear and concise and specializing in what makes you unique with your customers. So that's it for me from the Treasure Coast of Florida. Back to you, Steph.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. So again, if you make sure that you open up the chat, and we're all dropping links that we're mentioning in the chat. And then again, we do post this into the community groups and share this if you're not able to get it, but definitely make sure. So thank you so much, Emily. Everybody's looking so fabulous. So let's jump over really quickly to Diane. She's going to give us a greens update, and then I'll give an update from North Florida.
All right. Go for the greens. I know everybody's been wondering what's going to happen, and because WBEC has canceled both of our conferences for this year, and they're waiting until next year. So Go for the Greens is scheduled for September, and we are in process right now of trying to decide whether it's going to be live or virtual. And what we're looking at is actually kind of a hybrid. So for those of us in Florida, here, it would be a live event where we can go to Disney World and then broadcast it out to the world. So the virtual event will say, coming to you live from Walt Disney World. I know that makes my friend Stephanie really happy. So assuming that Disney is open, that the hotel's open, and that we can all get there by driving, that's what we're planning to do. We know that our friends from other places like Canada might not be able to come. People from New York might not be able to come. So we want to make sure we include them, and we think that we can have people from all over the world attend if we do this. So right now we're pricing out the service to make this happen, and looking at one of our women-owned businesses to do this with. So she's in our area here in Central Florida, so that would be really exciting. And just want everybody to stay tuned. So that's a big announcement for us. Meanwhile, we are still planning to continue our Wednesday webinars through June. So this Wednesday at 2 p.m., there's a Wednesday webinar, and I'll post the information in the chat room. So thank you, Steph. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and again, make sure if you miss anything, it's another great thing to be on our email list and the Greens email list, because we put that at the bottom of every one of our email. And then of course, check out the YouTube channel, because if you miss any of their sessions live, you can go back and watch the video. And I think you had one more thing.
Yeah, we've done 12 videos so far. So our poor video guy is not having a good time catching up. We've assigned him an intern to help get those all posted. So, but also, yes, we are planning the virtual matchmakers. So we know that's really important to all of us. And we've been doing those behind the scenes all spring. So that will be a huge part of Go for the Greens. That's going to be, we're ramping that up so that we can do, we usually have like 30 matchmakers on site, and we could be unlimited. We could do 50 or whatever. So we could really grow this year if we go virtual. So everybody stay tuned.
Fabulous. And then that's, again, the links to register as well for the virtual. They're always in the Greens emails, and then we always share all that. So we make sure you get all this information in many different ways. But if you saw that an email went out this morning from us around 11 o'clock, all the links and the information on this week's Go for the Greens webinar is also there, as well as to register in the virtual matchmaking area. So definitely make sure to check those out. Those are amazing. And then of course the YouTube channels, because you can catch up if you don't get a chance to watch it live. So a couple of other quick things I'll add here from North Florida that came out last week that were really exciting was that St. Johns County actually has released a emergency grant program, and here in the county. So definitely I'll make sure I get the link out to that. It's a $5,000, but this is a grant. So it's some more funds that have been released here, in particular in St. Johns County, above and beyond everything else out there. This is a new one. So definitely make sure that you check that out. All the information is there about your business and how many things that, you know, all the requirements in order to apply to get that grant. The other thing that we did mention, and I want to just reiterate again for those of you who are, and I think, you know, Joanna and Emily, everybody talked about the PPE, but if you do need any type of face coverings, those kind of things, pretty much I think almost in every county, I know up here, each chamber is in charge of that. So you have to go onto the chamber and find out where they're doing the distribution. In Jacksonville and in all the different ones, the chambers are managing it. So make sure you go in your area, do a search, but those are only for the small business owners. They're making sure that you have access to the supplies available, and they are getting more and more, as Diane said, thousands and hundreds of thousands of these to give out to you and all your employees. So that could be very helpful to getting your business back up and running. And also, I'll just make a little plug. This is one of our soon to be, I think, certified WBEs that got together and is doing the Million Mask Challenge. It's a Facebook group. Just search Million Mask Challenge. If you do want some other masks, if you either the county runs out before you get it, they will also, they are making masks, but they are free. You just put in a request. It's the Million Mask Challenge on Facebook. There are a bunch of people here in Florida, but then also I think they've got people all over the world, US doing it, but put in a request to them and they will get you your masks as well. They'll mail them to you. It's absolutely free. And another nice thing they've been doing is if you want to send them anything with your logo on it, they'll even make the masks in your logo. They were doing that for some of the local restaurants there in Central. They're based out of Orlando. So I wanted to mention that because I know that that's a big thing to get everybody open is to have your employees all wearing masks. So make sure you check those resources out. And then finally, I know I talk a lot up here in North Florida about the chambers, but they really are leading the charge up here in North Florida more so than some of the other areas. You know, UNF and the Entrepreneur Center, everybody's really leaning in and partnering with all of our chambers up here in North Florida. Jacksonville actually did some really great sessions all of their last week, just to what Diane mentioned about explanations on the assistance programs and the loans and all those things and the financial aspects of that. There was a really great session on Thursday. Those are all recorded and you can go get those off of the website. So make sure to check those out because to what Diane mentioned in her update, they're all sort of switching now because a lot of people, the people that did get the loans are trying to figure out how to turn those into grants or how to get them forgiven or whatever. So all of the chambers up here have all released specific topics and conversations, and they're partnering with the SBA up here. So definitely check out the Jacksonville Chamber website, the St. Johns County, and go out there because they do record them and they will be listed later. But the financial discussion is huge. And then again, I think we all just mentioned, keep notice about your city because while the governor is releasing updates on the openings, each council and city also is making tweaks based on their own caseload and everything else that's going on in that county. So for example, what's happening in Jacksonville may be different than what happens down in St. John's based on what is going on from a medical standpoint. So make sure, even though they may say from the state that we're at 50%, as you heard Joanna said, some of the gyms aren't opening in her area. Same here. There's a lot of things that are not opening, or the county has said they're going to do it less because of our caseload of COVID. So I just really encourage you guys. I know a lot of you in business are doing that, but no matter how you're doing business, make sure that you check, especially if you're in another part of the state and you want to check on what's happening. I know even my ex-husband does business down in South Florida, so he may live up here, but his business is in South Florida, right? So that manages how you do your business a little differently. So I just want to throw that out because we've been getting a lot of updates from the city here to remind us that like Flagler County is doing things differently than St. Johns County. So they keep making sure everybody knows when you cross those county lines, there may be some different precautions to be made. And so I think that's it. Again, just make sure you're signing up for stuff. And then we are going to hand over, because now I'm real excited. As you guys know, one of the things that we have started offering on these is an opportunity to give you some further development and to give you tips and things that we are seeing really useful. And actually, I will just mention, I did forget one thing before I hand over, speaking of surveys, is make sure the Jacksonville Chamber did put out a survey to their members. As you guys know, I know you might be getting surveys a lot, but what they are using, these surveys are helping them get funding, create more grant programs, their education and development. So if you do get one, most of them, we try to keep in 5 minutes, you know, something really quickly, but please make sure to fill those out, because those surveys are how a lot of these areas are getting more funding available based on what they're finding the businesses need. So Jacksonville just put one out. I think it went out Friday for their members up there. So please make sure, if you didn't get the link, on the website and get the link and take the survey, and do the same thing for any other things you might be a member of, because that's how St. Johns County got more money, because of the survey they did. So with that, speaking of surveys, we'll transition over to Diane to talk to us about surveys.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. So we know that some people want to do surveys themselves. You guys have been filling out a lot of surveys, but you want to do them yourself to figure out where your customers are, where your clients are, how they're doing. And it might be a really good time to do that survey. So to find out, you know, you have pivoted maybe, or you're thinking of pivoting and doing something different with your business. So what is that going to do with your customers? So we want to walk you through what that looks like and how to do a survey and online. And it's very inexpensive. It doesn't take long, and it gets you such great information that you can use. So my favorite tool is SurveyMonkey, but this will work with any other kind of tool. So I want to go over some basics. So I want to share my screen with you, and if you'll bear with us for a minute, I am going to do this now. Let's see, hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can do this and share my screen. Uh-oh, Steph, you're gonna have to plug me in and say that you are allowed to do screen sharing. Oops, and you're on mute, so.
Okay, try that now, Diane. Sorry about that.
Yep, here we go. All right. So you all, can you see my screen? I'm going to start this thing. Okay, great. All right, so this is all about online surveys, how to build them and how they can help you. And if, let me see. Do you see that second screen now, or are you still looking at the same screen?
Nope, second one, we're good.
Okay, good. This is me airbrushed pre-COVID with a nice hair. So I'll get back to that eventually. All right, this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about why you might use an online survey. That's really important. What do you need it for? Deciding which data to collect. That's important too. Deciding how to build your list of questions, because that is where it starts. That's how you collect the data. The questions are all important. And then paring down your list to simplify those questions. I'll give you some tips and tricks for building them. And then how to test your survey, tell you how that. And then how to send the survey out to your customers or whoever you're trying to survey. And then we'll talk about what to do with the results and how to use the survey as a marketing tool. All right, so let's talk first about why you might use an online survey. You want to do this to help you understand what's happening in your community. And when I say your community, that means either the people you do business with, the people who buy from you. You want to understand what the trends are and try to measure those. So, you know, don't necessarily think of surveys as something you just do one time and then put aside. You know, maybe build this into your marketing strategy for your business. These are some of the reasons you might want to do an online survey: to measure customer satisfaction, That is really key. How are your customers feeling right now about whatever it is that you're offering, your products and services? Or if you're launching something new, you want to test market it with them and ask them, hey, what do you think about this? Did you like this? Was this a good experience or was it not? This, you can gather some statistical significance. So if you can see that, for instance, 75% of your respondents said that they love this product, well, that's something to shout out in a marketing materials, in your marketing materials. Well, maybe not 75. I guess you want 95% to love it, don't you? But then you can also use it to prove or disprove some kind of a theory. So if you think that people are, they love to shop for your products online, let's say, but you don't really have that much proof, then this will show you, yes, they love to shop for your products online more than they do in person when you set up at a trade show or something. This also allows people to give anonymous feedback. And that's really important sometimes to get the honesty that you want in these surveys. You want that feedback to be able to come to you without people feeling like you're going to retaliate against them or think negative of them if they say something negative. You really want all feedback, positive and negative. This allows you online to conduct research conveniently. So it used to be that you had to go stand in the mall with a clipboard and ask people questions, or have somebody call each of your customers and ask a question. And you don't have to do that anymore. You could just pop them an online survey. And it's so easy to do, you guys, if you haven't done it yet. You can also get this great marketing intelligence at a low cost. So whatever you're paying for the survey company, and places like SurveyMonkey, they offer the surveys free up to a certain number. So if you have, if you're sending them out to a higher number, then you do have to pay for that. But it's, again, it's minimal cost compared to other marketing tools you might use. So again, think of it as a marketing tool. This is, these are some rules that I got, or some things that I got from Salesforce. They allow you to collect, surveys allow you to collect data in real time, meaning you're getting a snapshot right now of what's happening. So it's not just, what's happening all the time, or what's happening, next year, or what happened last year, but what's happening right now. And you can learn from your results. You can say, okay, we need to course correct based on what we're finding in our survey. That's very important. It allows you to become a thought leader. So if you're sending out surveys and asking people questions and then showing the results, that shows thought leadership. Your competitors might not be doing this. So that's really important. And then it also allows you to turn data into content. And we'll talk about that later in the presentation. But that's an important piece as to what you do with that data when you're done collecting it, when you're finished collecting it. All right, so before you do anything with a survey, you first have to decide why you want to do it. What is the why? What are you going to do with it? What is your end goal? Do you want to use this in marketing? Are you just trying to decide how to fix your product or service? Are you trying to decide whether to make an investment? Maybe you're thinking about spending money on something to upgrade at your business, and you want to know first if it's going to be worth it, if people are going to want that. So decide what it is that you're trying to accomplish, because that'll help you shape the questions. So here, there are many things about why. I got this from Survey Gizmo. What are you trying to figure out? What do you want to know? What do you hope to do with the data? What kinds of reports do you want to make with this? What's your intended audience, and how are you going to access the audience? That's important too. Again, we talk about you don't have to necessarily go out and make phone calls or go to the mall with a clipboard. So how are you going to get to your audience? Are you going to buy lists, or do you already have a robust database? Are you going to send it out to partners and ask them to send your survey out? You've got to think about all those things, because as you're writing your questions, you want to make sure that you're addressing your audience, and you have to know who the audience is as you address that audience. So, and here's some kinds of data you can collect. The contact information is all important. So sometimes when you're doing a survey and you want it, that people want it to be anonymous, you can say at the end, if you want to be part of this giveaway, we're giving away a $100 gift certificate, or a free trip to the Bahamas, or whatever it is, you can ask them to give you their contact information at the end. And that lets them decide whether they want to be anonymous or not. But it does let you collect demographic information. So in your survey, you should ask some questions about, something that might help which part of the area do you live in or work in? Where's your business located? Are you male or female? Are you a minority or not a minority? Those kinds of things are kind of helpful sometimes to the surveys you collect or conduct. And let's see, you can conduct reviews of your products and services. You can find out how far your geographic reach is. So if only people are, people in your geographic region are responding and not anyone outside, maybe that tells you that you need to do something to reach the people outside your immediate market, whatever that is. Suggestions for improvement, that's really important. You can ask people to give you suggestions. And then the neat thing, you can do what I call slicing and dicing the information. So once you collect all of the survey data, you can divide it. You can actually say, I only want to hear from people who are in this geographic area, or only people who are identify themselves as minorities, or only people who are in manufacturing instead of, services, or that kind of thing. So you can slice and dice the data once you extract it. All right, here comes the fun part, building the list of questions. So what you ask and how you ask it is going to be so key to getting that information you need. The first rule of thumb is to try to always ask the open-ended questions. Instead of just asking yes or no, how much data are you going to mine from yes and no, right? So try to ask a question that's open-ended, meaning which of these 5 choices is your answer? Yes, no, maybe, and then maybe why? Why do you like this more than you like that? And you have to give them multiple choices and rating scales. That's very important. So you have to write the choices in so that they can, quickly go through and say, this is my choice, this is my choice, and then try to leave some information, some places at the end where they can give you information that's extra. How many times have you been taking a survey where you've gotten to a point and you've said, this doesn't apply to me? You don't want that to happen to your customers, right? You want them to follow all the way through the survey and not give up because they feel that the answers don't apply to them. So that's really important that you write the questions and think about all the different possibilities of answers. And you want to make the questions diverse enough so that they don't get boring. If you have questions that are all worded exactly the same, people are going to be like, didn't I just answer this? Oh, okay, yes, 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 no, no, no. So you want to make sure that they are kind of mixed up a little just in the way the questions are formed. And then this was a key, this was from SurveyMonkey, avoid asking for 2 things at once. In other words, if you have let me see something here. If you have 2 questions that are, if you have one question that is really 2 at once, they'll be able to see through that. And maybe they have an answer for one part of that question that's different from an answer the other part. So again, let's go over this again. Focus on the open-ended questions. These take less time to answer. And they're also easier to compare when you do, apples to apples when you're crunching your data. The general rule of thumb is to try to ask 10 questions or fewer on your survey. You know, how many surveys have you sat through where it's like, all right, I'm on question 24, I'm starting to get tired. So if it's 10 questions and then you have up to 2 open-ended questions in the survey, that's an open-ended means, what do you think, or do you have any other suggestions? Make sure you keep your questions neutral and not biased. You really want to get a true opinion. So instead of saying, don't you think it's, you know, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're asking, how do you feel about this? Yes or no? So the person can answer either way, and the person doesn't feel pressured to respond in one way or the other. And then we'll see some samples later on, but include answer choices that are good, neutral, and bad. A lot of times when people are writing these, they forget to ask, or they forget to allow for a neutral answer. Some people just don't have an opinion at all, or they don't, it doesn't apply to them. So you have to have an NA, you know, no answer available. And here's the one about asking for 2 things at once. How would you rate our customer service and product reliability? That's just too complicated for one question. So you can break that into separate chunks, or maybe separate surveys. All right. And we talked about this, making sure your questions look different from each other. And then also don't make it a requirement that the person has to answer each question before moving forward in the survey. I've seen people make this mistake too many times. You know, your respondent might not have an answer to the question and might choose to skip it, and you'll be able to see that. If you know, let's say you have 10 questions and on number 8, 30% of your people skipped that question altogether. That means the question probably wasn't written in a way that made them feel comfortable. And so you've got to go back and look at the writing of that question. In other words, it might have been, it didn't apply to them, but there was no place for them to say, this doesn't apply to me. Or it was just a question that they just flat out didn't want you to know the answer to. So that's something to look at. But don't force them to answer the questions. Let them skip ahead if they want. And then do a test drive. When you're finished putting your questions together, make sure you send it to yourself, look at it, edit it, send it out to some colleagues or friends, and make sure that it looks good. I have a little bit more to go, and I wanted to see if there were any questions, Steph, if you're seeing any questions in the chat. And if so, just interrupt me and ask.
You got it.
I have a question, Diane.
Okay. Yes.
So for example, I've seen many surveys where they ask the same question 2 different ways because they're hoping you either will be consistent with your answer or they're looking to see if you come up with something else. What is your take on that technique?
You know what, I think you see that most in personality surveys. And so they're trying to see by your personality measure whether you're going to answer differently or respond differently if the question is asked differently. But in things like product surveys or consumer surveys, you know, what we're talking about here, it's a lot less frequently that you see that. That's a great question, by the way. All right, and so please don't try to cram every question you think of into one survey. You know, and our team, the 4 of us on the screen, we just got together last week and we said, hey, we want to do a survey. And we came up with every question we could think of that we want to ask our audience. And lucky for you guys, we're not going to ask you every single question we thought of all at the same time, right? Right. So you do want to pare it down. And there are a couple places where I can show you tips and tricks to pare it down.
And that's also, if I can jump in, Diane, where it's great to show it to other people, because we also found that some of them were kind of repetitive, right? So it's so important to get that list down and then let other people look at it, because you may think that it's a different question when somebody else goes, actually, I think that's the same question.
Yeah. So. I put this little cute picture of a dog in here because people, you know, they have dogs to walk, they have families to you know, to spend time with, and they have jobs to do. They don't want to sit around and answer your questions all day. So try to keep to 10 little questions. All right, I'm going to give you a couple tips. I know we're getting close to our time. So multiple choice is your friend. Remember that. So multiple choice is good. That way it'll allow you to judge, again, apples to apples, to be able to see what people are feeling and quantify the information you're getting. If you use a grid for several multiple choice questions, and I'll show you an example, that will help you cram several different questions into one without making it feel like it's several into one. And one of the other things is to stick to the same scale for each question. So in other words, you don't want to have one slide or one question say, rate your favorite thing on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, and then turn around in the next question with 5 being the lowest and 1 being the highest. That'll just confuse everyone, and it will skew your results. I know that sounds, you know, so simple, but people do this all the time, believe me. We also talked about including an NA, not applicable, wherever you can, wherever you think it's needed. And also each question, each of the 10 questions, you can say, do you have any other comments about this, or is there anything you'd like to add? And you'll find that people very frequently do have some comments that they add, and that's very valuable information. Okay, so here's an example. Please indicate, this is something I did with Go for the Greens. Please indicate which business development events you attended and rate them on the quality of programming. So here you can see irrelevant all the way up to did not attend. Irrelevant up to very relevant up to did not attend. And then I just listed each of the events under here. That was one question. So it was a big grid, and all they had to do is put dots on each of the ones. So there might have been 8 or 10 of those, and all they had to do was click under relevant, not relevant, did not attend, that kind of thing. So that's one question. That's one way to cheat. Get one question in with a whole bunch of. Another question here, like, did you please indicate your satisfaction with the processes? So we have it going from hopping mad all the way up to did not participate. So again, listing all the different types of things underneath. And anyone should be able to answer these questions, right? So you want to make it so that it's really simple, easy to read. You don't have to go get a dictionary to look up any of the words. You don't have to, you know, try to think like, what are they talking about? So in other words, when you say, okay, we want to ask you about this product or this service, don't just assume that people are going to know the service or product by the nickname that you use in your business. You know, spell it out for them. We introduced a product in January that is all about such and such, and it and you purchased it, and you know, as a in March or whatever. And so we want to know your opinion on how you are enjoying using that product. You know, spell it out for them. Okay. So, and making the most of the online tool is real important. So you want to use your results as a marketing tool. Here are some cool things that you can do with these survey results. You can write a press release. Here's a survey we did, our company. Here's what we found out, and here are the results. You know, 95% of the people who use this kind of a product report that it helps them do blank. If the survey results are really important for your industry, you can write a white paper about the data. And you can do a white paper in 3 pages, you can do a white paper in 10 pages, you know, something that sets you up as an expert, you and your company. So you can take the data you get from the survey, add it to other things that you're hearing from your customers, and also your professional knowledge, and write a white paper and put that on your website and send it out to people and post it on LinkedIn and give it to your customers and your potential customers. It makes you really look like a subject matter expert, which you are. You can present your data in a webinar, put your data together in a webinar like this one to show it to your clients and say, here's what our customers are telling us. Here's what we're finding in the market. And you can also use these, your results as the basis of a speech. So the more you get out there and speak about what you do, the more of an expert you become. And and that means you bring in more revenue for your company because you now are the go-to person in your market. So the possibilities really are endless. And you don't maybe think about it when you're taking somebody else's survey, what they're going to do with all that information, but start paying attention to how they ask questions, because you can be doing that same thing for your company. Here's an example of what it looks like to analyze your results. SurveyMonkey gives you something like this. So first, it'll show you on a bar chart kind of thing. It'll show you on this kind of thing to analyze the results. This is something I found interesting where it tells by day how many people responded. So you can see that when it was first sent out, most people did it right away. And every so often, people would respond later. So that tells you you have to be really careful about when you send the survey out. If you're sending it out during a critical time of day where people are mostly working, they might not stop and take it right then, and then they might forget. If their inbox looks anything like mine, and probably all of yours, it's going to get lost. So you do have to send it out at a strategic time and maybe a couple different times. And here's the thing, just do it now. Send out your survey, make it happen. Okay, so these are what we went over, and I just want to see if any of you had any questions.
Oh, thank you, Diane. That was so awesome. And I saw somebody said, yeah, thanks. They've been kind of putting this together. So if there's any questions, just pop them in the chat. And then also remember, I know we had a couple of things that, we will be putting this into the community groups. There's a new Facebook community group that we launched last week that's free to anybody. You don't have to be a WBE in order to join it. And we'll be posting all this there, as well as sending it out to the WBEs. And there's Diane's information. So I also want to remind you guys that you have Nancy, but you also have the four of us. So if you want to arrange a time to have a call with us, I know we did take down the evening calls because I think we were all getting inundated with Zoom calls all day long. But that doesn't mean that we are not still here for you. So there were a couple people that joined and had some really great conversations and chats about their business. So if you want to continue to do that, you can reach out to any of the four of us, including Nancy, and we would be happy to schedule some time, just you one-on-one, or if you want to get a couple of us on the phone, that's fine. I love to hang out with this group. So I'm happy to do that anytime and make sure that we are helping support you through this time. So you saw I did drop, there is, thank you, one of the members asked for the link to our website. And then if you are a WBE, just don't forget to make sure that you're working on a video for us as well. And there's the link again. This is limited to our certified members because there's 800 of them, and we hope that a lot of them take advantage of us getting to help you put together a little short commercial and get it out there to everybody. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. Again, we are continuing to do these every Monday, and you can check out our YouTube channel as well if you miss one, and share it with your friends. And again, just know we are here. So we want to wish you a fabulous, fabulous week. And just continue to know we are here. Let us know what you need, and take those surveys because we use them a lot of different ways. So I guess you guys have already picked up that you're going to be seeing one from us soon. So hang tight. Have a fabulous week. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye now.